Well, hello there, Christina here, and welcome to the Becoming Wise Show. It is the place to explore the inner work needed to help recover and engage your soulful essence. Now, remember to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so that you can keep up to date with our weekly content. As adults, we often repress our childlike spirit. We get overwhelmed with responsibilities that we stifle the inner child and project on the children around us. I found a beautiful poem recently that expresses this idea. It's called Growing Down by Shel Silverstein. And the poem is about an old grumpy man who is always telling the kids to grow up and act more mature. And one day the kids flipped it back on him and asked, well, why don't you try growing down? And that he did. As I share it with you, I want you to consider the habits and experiences in your own life, the parts of you that you no longer let out to play. Grow up, I'm too old for that. I'm an adult now, I'm not a child. All these parts that are joyful and messy and pure. And I want you to think about what it would be like if you release that. If you let go some more, if you play and laugh and run some more, not be so serious about everything. What would it be like if you explored more about yourself and the beauty of the world, even the little places, the things and people that are near you? How much richer and more colorful would your life be? What if you could get a glimpse of life before over-civilization and adulting? What would it be like if you could recover the childlike aspects of yourself? What if you could release your inner child? Here's the poem, Growing Down. Mix a grunt and a grumble, a snare and a frown, and what do you have? Why, old Mr. Brown, the crabbiest man in our whole darn town. We call him Grow Up Brown. For years each girl and boy and pup heard, grow up, grow up, grow up. He'd say, why don't you be polite? Why must you shout and fuss and fight? Why can't you keep dirt off your clothes? Why can't you remember to wipe your nose? Why must you always make such noise? Why don't you pick up your toys? Why do you hate to wash your hands? Why are your shoes all filled with sand? Why must you shout when I'm lying down? Why don't you grow up? Grum to Grow Up Brown. One day we said to Grow Up Brown, hey, why don't you try growing down? Why don't you crawl on your knees? Why don't you try climbing trees? Why don't you bang on a tin can drum? Why don't you chew some bubble gum? Why don't you play kick the can? Why don't you not wash your hands? Why don't you join the baseball team? Why don't you yell and jump and scream? Why don't you try skipping stones? Why don't you eat ice cream cones? Why don't you cry when you feel sad? Why don't you cuddle with your dad? Why don't you have weenie roasts? Why don't you believe in ghosts? Why don't you have pillow fights? Why don't you sleep with your teddy at night? Why don't you swing from monkey bars? Why don't you wish on falling stars? Why don't you run in three-legged races? Why don't you make weirdy faces? Why don't you smile, Grow Up Brown? Why don't you try growing down? Then, Grow Up Brown, he scrunched and frowned and scratched his head and walked around. And finally he said with a helpless sound, maybe I'll try growing down. So Grow Up Brown began to sing and started doing silly things. He started making weirdy faces and came in first in three-legged races. All day he swung from monkey bars, all night he'd lie and count the stars. He tooted horns and banged on drums. He spent $20 on chewing gum. He went to all the weenie roasts, and once he thought he saw a ghost. He got to be great at pillow fights and went to sleep with his teddy at night. He flew a kite, he kicked a can, he rubbed some dirt upon his hands, he drew some pictures, threw some stones. ate 47 ice cream cones. He got some sand between his toes, got a loose tooth and a bloody nose. He got a dog, they rolled in mud. He imitated Elmer Fudd. He climbed a roof, though no one asked. He broke his wrist, he wore a cast. He rolled down hills, he climbed up trees. He scuffed his elbows, skinned his knees. He tried to join the baseball team. When they said no, he spit and screamed. He cried when he was feeling sad and went and cuddled with his dad. He wore a hat that didn't fit. He learned just how far he could spit. He learned to wrestle and get tickled, sucked his thumb, he belched and giggled. He got his trousers torn and stained. He ran out barefoot in the rain, shouting to all the folks in town, "It's much more fun, this growing down." Now, friend, I hope that this has prompted you to feel that childlike wonder again and live it. You remember to subscribe for the soulful content that I share here every week to empower, enlighten, and encourage you on your journey. And let me know in the comments if you, like Grow Up Brown, will make an attempt at growing down. Bye-bye for now.